Here to give us her take on it, Ann Coulter, author of the best-selling book, In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome. And welcome back to the program. And what is your initial reaction to all of the tinfoil hat conspiracy theories, Russia, 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 and the whiff of fascism comments by the media?
The media are really propping this guy up, I think, at this point. I get annoyed with the Emperor God Trump now and then, as you may have noticed from my Twitter feed, on the fact that we are not yet building the wall. And then the media come along and are so corrupt, so stupid, so in the pocket of the Democrats that you end up, taking the side of the Emperor God again because you hate the media so much. And just to take one point, which has been being recycled repeatedly on MSNBC today, is returning to this joke that Trump told during the campaign. I remember watching it live, and I laughed out loud when he said at that press conference, I should say, we all knew that Hillary was under investigation for all of those 30,000 emails that somehow disappeared. And Trump said, hey, Russia, if you're listening, if you have those 30,000 emails, I think the media would really reward you if you would produce them. It was funny. It was obviously a joke. But that's point one. It was a joke. Even if you are an earnest idiot liberal reporter and insist on taking that line seriously, what is it Trump was saying? Look, the Hillary's emails had already, the WikiLeaks stuff, that was gone. Hillary destroyed the property of the United States. We have FOIA rules. This is government property. If Russia had them, they were in possession of stolen property that belonged to the citizens of the United States. And what Trump was saying is return it to their rightful owners. Both you and Hillary are in possession of something that belongs to the citizens of the United States. But this is what they're hanging their hat on here. And I'd add that to show how stupid the media are, these FOIA laws, this isn't part of the Constitution. Those were fought for in order to provide the sunshine laws. This was after Watergate and the Church Commission in order to have transparency in government. And those are the laws Hillary is just trashing. Oh, yeah, of course we're transparent. And of course there are all these FOIA laws, but they don't apply to us. We're the Clintons.
But let's go back first to the analogy that is falsely being used here, and that is that this is a comparison to Watergate, and there's nothing comparable to the Saturday Night Massacre and the firings what happened in the Saturday Night Massacre when they refused to fire Archibald Cox. Just the direct opposite happened.
No, I know, but this obsession with Watergate and Nixon, for Pete's sake, it's like, it's harder to argue against a stupid argument than a smart argument. It reminds me of when I first started going on Politically Incorrect on ABC, when Maher's show, I guess, first started. And you'd be on with some bimbo actress who would come up with something that you just didn't bring your notes for. How is a simile different from an elephant? I don't even know where to begin with that. Give me something that's in the ballpark. It's the FBI director. The president has a right to fire him. I'm a little annoyed with Trump. If you want to be annoyed with him, number one, miles of wall built today, 0. Miles built since inauguration, 0. There are plenty of reasons to be annoyed with him. And in this thing, we thought we were getting a badass. How about he just, from the beginning, from the get-go, come out and say, I thought he was doing a terrible job. He allowed the San Bernardino shooter into the country. His FBI agents investigated Omar Mateen and cleared him weeks before he shot up the gay nightclub in Orlando. And there was the 3 interventions into the election where Hillary wasn't being investigated, and she was being investigated, and then she wasn't being investigated. So twice Comey came out to help Hillary, and once he came out against her, which Democrats have been hanging their hat on. But there are plenty of reasons to fire this guy. So go ahead and do it, and just claim credit, and don't say it was Sessions and Rosenstein. But that's a pretty minor complaint compared to the total absolute hysteria in the media right now. Again, they keep, every time he annoys you, they bring you back to his side.
You know, we've gone over all of the failings, and you mentioned some of the, you mentioned Hassan in the case of the Fort Hood shooting. They knew that he said that he wanted to protect.
Comey.
Okay, but I'm saying the FBI failure.
Omar Mateen was 100%
That was
Comey.
the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, yeah.
Shooting, 100% Comey. He's an utter incompetent. He's going and giving these statements to congressional investigators in public hearings. I mean, it's one of the things normal people hate about, and as you know, I'm a big fan of police and investigators, but about prosecutors, where they, publicly try someone, get their name muddied up in the media, and never actually bring charges. I mean, okay, they're hysterical right now about Trump asking Comey, or Comey telling Trump that he was not personally under investigation. But what if he hadn't? What if he didn't know that? Is he never allowed to fire the FBI director because he can never find out whether he's being personally investigated?
Well, I think the thing that we've got to ask ourselves here is, okay, the one law that we know was broken was against General Michael Flynn, as he was incidentally surveilled en masse, and, of course, the illegal felony committed against the Espionage Act when they leaked the information. The other crimes we know that were committed by Hillary Clinton, the fact that he gives a 13-minute monologue defining why she should be indicted and basically using the exact legal terminology of gross negligence by talking about recklessness on her part. So, and then he comes up with no explanation for that, and nobody would ever in good conscience bring this to trial. Well, tell that to the guy that's sitting in jail because he took 6 pictures inside of a submarine, for crying out loud. For a year he's in jail, and she moved the entire site, to avoid congressional oversight in a mom-and-pop shop bathroom, and deleted 33,000 emails. Now, these are not felonies. I don't know what are. And obviously, this guy's got some bizarre back-and-forth political agenda, some sense of self-importance that I can't quite put my hand on.
Well, there's always the issue. I mean, we have the 3 branches of government, and the most powerful branch is the 4th, the media, which is why right now...
You're very calm today, by the way, Coulter. I'm not used to you being this calm.
It's so insane. I'd like to be uncalm, but the only thing I want to be uncalm about is when are we going to start the wall?
Well, I got your point. Look, I'm pretty confident, and I actually give the president higher grades than you, but I know where your priorities are. I know that this is issue 1, 2, 3 to 1,000, so I get it, but I'm pretty confident the wall's going to get done. I've asked the president repeatedly if he's going to build it, if it's going to be a physical barrier, if he's backed off at all. And I'm a little ticked off that during the continuing resolution debate, Congress didn't fight because they don't want to get blamed for a shutdown, actually fund aspects of the wall. But with that said, I know the progress that's being made, the plans that have been made up, and I'm pretty confident it's going to happen. But it's not soon enough. I get it.
No, that's right. And I just consider all these other little things. It's just a distraction from both the Republican and the Democratic Party. Do not want to build a wall. They want to keep dumping low-wage workers on the country. I was shocked to see one of my favorite senators, Senator Johnson, has introduced a bill to dump, 500,000 more low-wage workers on the country. Does anyone in Washington care about the working class in America? I mean, Trump does, but he has the entire Washington bureaucracy against him. And it is for that reason that both political parties are going to keep staging these utterly fake scandals. I mean, just to start with the Russia one to begin with, can any liberal explain to me what their theory is of what happened?
Well, I mean, there's no evidence, and I played it again and again. I don't think I need to...
Even if there were evidence, as I wrote in a column a few weeks ago...
It's not a crime.
These great spy masters in Russia, the one thing they can do well, they can't, or could not, for 50 years, feed their people. The one thing they could do is spy. And their idea is, number one, they want Trump to be the president, and number two, the way they will accomplish this is by publishing emails showing that Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the Democratic National Committee were out to screw Bernie Sanders. That's the plan? I mean, talk about a rim shot. No spy would go for that. Even an idiot spy, even a spy working for the Republican National Committee wouldn't say, well, we know what the results of that will be. The results could well have been, as I think many of us thought was going to happen at some point during the campaign, that the Democrats would go to Hillary and have a come-to-Jesus moment saying, you can't run. You're damaged goods. I'm sorry, feminists, but you're going to have to take one for the team. We're running Joe Biden, who obviously would have been a tougher candidate. I still think Trump would have won. But that is a much better play for the Democrats, as they did with Torricelli and Lautenberg.
Yeah, remember Lautenberg?
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back more with Ann Coulter. Her book, In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome. We'll get to some of the other questions of the day for her. As we continue with Ann Coulter, author of the best-selling book, In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome. All right, so let me ask you this. As the left now becomes more and more unhinged, and even you mentioned your buddy Bill Maher, there is a desire of some conservatives to shut down idiots like Bill Maher. I can't stand the guy. And he makes an incest joke about Ivanka Trump, or if you can even call it a joke, or Stephen Colbert's now radical meltdown every night, which basically Trump has resurrected his flailing career and those of his, 50, 100 writers that he's got employed. I happen to believe that we as conservatives, we're more likely to be shut down because these boycotts against conservatives are designed to silence our voices. And if conservatives get involved and they go after Bill Maher, if you remember back in the day with Politically Incorrect, it's bad for everybody.
No, it's always been conservatives on the side of free speech, whether self-interested or out of principle. And in fact, when Maher got dumped from ABC, it was all conservatives who... It
was me, you, Rush, that defended that idiot.
Liberals went running for the hills on that one. Yeah, of course, it's part of our long Anglo-Saxon tradition, the idea that in the battle of ideas, the truth will emerge. The one thing I loved about, you reminded me, I only saw this clip online, the Stephen Colbert announcing that Trump had fired Comey, and the entire audience applauded. His face fell. No, we're supposed to love Comey now. We hated him last week. It's stunning. It's straight out of 1984. We were at war with East Asia, but now they're our friends, and you're just constantly. We have always been at war with East Asia. It's the 2 minutes hate with Emmanuel Goldstein, and you can get really stupid people ginned up to hate a particular person. That's all these audiences rely on. I do wish they would go back to doing humor and not long strings of epithets in lieu of humor. But to summarize where we are now, okay, for the Russia conspiracy collusion, we do have some evidence of it with Obama and that hot mic tape where he told Medvedev, don't worry, we'll be able to work this out after the election. We have some evidence of it with Hillary giving all of these productive uranium reserves, 25% to the Russians in exchange for a massive donation for the Clinton Foundation. We have no evidence of it with Trump, nor do they even have a plausible theory. It's just Russia is the only thing they could come up with. I mean, I guess it's better than Canada, but the whole thing doesn't make any sense. And now Trump has fired the FBI director. The only mistake he made was, in my opinion, not just saying, I'm a badass, I fired him, and trying to, this just bubbled up from the Department of Justice, but so what, big deal. And I think we're going to be hearing Watergate every week until the end of Trump's term, however long that may be. I hope it's 8 years, and it will be if he builds the wall.
Boy, when I say it's issue 1 through 1,000, I really ought to be saying it's issue 1 through 1,000,000 for you. And by the way, I totally agree with you, and you've been at the forefront of it all, and I give you a lot of credit for your strong position, and I think it has to happen, just like vetting has to happen, just like the tax cuts have to happen, just like energy independence has to happen, and a new tax plan.
That stuff will happen with or without Trump as long as Republicans have a majority.
No, they won't. Republicans are weak.
The entire world on immigration, and it's moments like this, it's weeks like this, when the media is using their vast power to destroy him over nothing, that he should be reminded how much he needs his base. No one can touch him as long as he has his base. All he has to do is keep his promises, and his promises, they weren't chanting at those rallies, cut taxes. They weren't cutting, give us cheap labor. They weren't even chanting end Obamacare. They were chanting build the wall, because they know no one else will do it.
Ann Coulter, thank you. We appreciate it. All the best. Always love having you.